This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
It is 6:01. I will now call to order the March 24th meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. This meeting is being recorded. This meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission will be conducted in person and simultaneously via remote participation online to the greatest extent possible. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Easthampton website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Should an interruption occur in which the online meeting ends abruptly, both the in-person and online meetings will not be restarted, and all agenda items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting. Are there any public concerns, non-agenda items? Hearing none, we'll move on to public hearings. We have 2 items listed under public hearings this evening, but both of them have already been continued to April 7th. So we'll not be discussing either of those this evening. That takes us to requests for certificate of compliance. Our first one is Easthampton Park Solar 1 LLC, 232 Park Street. This is Mass DEP file number 151293 for a large scale solar project, map 165, lot 3.1.
Excellent. Okay, and we do have Drew and Yara and maybe another member of the team here. But maybe I will just start by introducing the new finalized operations and maintenance plan that we have received from them. So I'll just go ahead and scroll through it and highlight the updates, and then Drew, you can jump in if there's anything I missed in terms of the updates to this O&M plan. Great. So the first thing is we have a signature page that covers the agreement component of the stormwater ordinance.
And that is the person who will be managing the site long-term? Or the entity, Easthampton Park Solar 1?
I'm seeing a nod from Drew.
Hi. Correct. Yeah. Drew Vardakis from WSP, consultant on behalf of Soltage, and Yara is here from Soltage. And yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Okay, and then this page is all the same as was originally submitted in the NOI. This the same. 2.5 is a new section, or the commission reviewed it, but this is the piece about invasive plants and the monitoring and removal of them. The annual report will be provided to the Conservation Commission annually. Nothing has changed in here. But here we have the log with the different O&M tasks, their frequency, the estimated budget. That was a piece of the stormwater ordinance, required that.
Can you just make that a little bit bigger? Will it let you? Thank you. Okay.
And then this page is just the revisions made to it.
Any questions that you think folks want to come back to?
No.
Thank you. Go ahead, Drew.
Eva, I just had one thing. Also on page 3, section 2.5, there was a question last meeting that if invasives were found, they'd be disposed off site. So we added that line right in there. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, you covered it all. I don't have anything else to add.
And I do believe this was the final remaining piece for the request for certificate of compliance.
Yeah, we had the as-built for some time, right?
Yep.
With your stamp and signed off on.
Yep, and the letter from the engineer. So you conducted a site visit back in July.
Any further questions from the commission?
I don't believe so. No.
Do we have paperwork in here that I'm not seeing?
Yes, I believe it's, yeah. The next one.
So we would be looking to issue a complete certification, certifying that the work regulated by the above referenced order of condition has been satisfactorily completed. Does anyone want to make that motion?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Go ahead and pass this around for signatures.
I'm not sure, are the implementation conditions referenced there?
Do you have those numbers?
Yep, it's 63 through 68 for the in perpetuity conditions. Just project those. And for the Soul Touch team, these are the in perpetuity conditions of the original order remain through the certificate of compliance.
All right, then. This may perhaps be the most critical of this paper I've ever signed.
Really? I got it. You have kids, don't you?
Well, I guess that's true.
Permission slips come to
Oh,
mind.
boy.
But in the folder, it's a lot. I know it's new. I did it. The arts and culture coordinator requested it.
Did you write the note?
Oh, I did write, yes.
Where is on here?
You're listening to on our agenda. That's so exciting. So Drew and Yara, I will scan this in tomorrow and email you a copy. And then if you'll send me a mailing address that I should send the certified mail original to, this will need to be registered at the Registry of Deeds.
Yeah, that can likely come to me. You have my, we can talk offline, but you have my address and my email signature.
Okay, great, excellent. Thank you, Drew.
Great.
Thank you, Drew and Yara. Yeah, thank you for your persistence.
Yes, much appreciate your time and efforts, Eva and Commission. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank
night.
you everybody for your help
Bye.
and patience. Thank you.
Our next item is a request for certificate of compliance. Sean Sullivan of 6 Crescent Street, Mass DEP file number 151067 for driveway construction, map 155, lot 11. This order expired in 1989. I'm assuming this is a property that somebody is looking to transfer ownership of.
Yes.
Okay.
My understanding is that it is already sold. I'm not exactly sure what stage of the real estate transaction it is in, but they originally contacted me in August, looking to close this out, but then I just received the actual request for a certificate of compliance last week, which is why it is now being reviewed by the commission. So back in August, I'll project the original order. Back in August, I did some digging to figure out what was going on. So the first thing you'll note is that this project on this vintage order says it's located at 34 South Street, but it was registered for 6 Crescent Street. And that's relevant for what they were planning on doing with the construction of this project. We have our special conditions, which are really only this is our hint for our detective work here. Is the only information I really had to go off of were special conditions. And a conversation I actually had with the seller, who had a vague recollection of something of a driveway connection to South Street, which Crescent Street is a crescent shaped street that comes off of South Street. That a recollection that her grandfather was maybe at one time thinking of creating like a cross driveway to go up to South Street from the house. So we can take a look at where this is in town real quick. So this is South Street right here. Park Street's over here. Route 10.
Zoom out just a second.
Yep.
Okay, I'm with you. Thank you.
And then Crescent is just this little street right here. And so currently the way you access 6 Crescent Street is you drive down Crescent Street and you park in the driveway, which is right in front of this house. And their property goes all the way back here and includes this beautiful section of BBW along Wilton Brook. Now we'll go back to the order. Okay. So the special conditions reference a couple of concrete bounds. Fill area to extend no more than 34 feet west to the said bound. Driveway shall follow as near as possible the property line of Mr. and Mrs. Winifreker without infringing on same. No more than 190 cubic yards of fill shall be used, including topsoil. A 15-inch drainage culvert to be installed in the location of existing water flow from storm drain. Erosion control. Side slope shall be loam. Surface of drive shall be of a suitable material. Width of driveway not to exceed 8 feet, nor length of fill exceed 50 feet. So these conditions describe a driveway. I felt pretty confident that it was not the driveway that is actually there, which is the driveway that's in front of the house on Crescent Street. And I felt confident about that for a couple of reasons. The first is that the address on this order is listed as 34 South Street, suggesting that they meant to cut up to South Street. The other reason I felt confident about that is I did conduct a site visit back in August. I couldn't find any of these concrete bounds from the 80s, but I did locate the property of Mr. and Mrs. Winifreker. So this references a plan, a 1969 plan. And I have that plan.
That this one?
Yes.
Okay.
So this plan shows this as 2 different properties, but my understanding is that this property and this property were combined to make 6 Crescent Street.
Okay.
I'm not sure when that happened, but if you look at the way the property lines are on city, yes, yep. And here we have South Street. Once again, there is no 34 South Street like that. That's not an address in town. But this property right here, 2 Crescent Street, from 1985 to 1997 was owned by the Winifrekers.
Okay. So it was meant to follow along that line out to south.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is the driest. This is all BBW right in here. So if you were to try to get out to South Street, this would be the driest path. And I'll go ahead and project my site visit. Didn't see any evidence that any action were taken This is from August 20th. So that's looking into the BVW.
Okay.
Way back. This is what the house, I believe, was the Winifekers. So I'm sort of on the property line here. Yeah.
Yeah, your cursor was moving it, so the brick,
Yep.
the brick house.
The brick house. Yeah. And here I am. I went up the slope to South Street, so I'm looking down along where I believed the driveway was meant to be constructed. It is a pretty steep slope there to get down to their yard from South Street. In my looking around their property, I did find some other structures that were constructed. But this is looking back at the actual house. So this is 6 Crescent Street. Crescent Street is out here where my vehicle is, and their existing driveway is out in the front. This is looking, South Street is right up here. So this is looking again like along the 2 Crescent Street property line is the mowed line to less mowed line here.
Did you find any evidence of a drainage culvert being installed?
I didn't, well, okay, here I have some images of it. I found some pipes. I found this.
Okay. Where is that?
It was closer towards the wetland.
Can you show us roughly on an aerial
Yeah.
where it was coming from and where it was empty?
Yeah. I recall it being like in here.
We're
Oh,
not
sorry,
seeing-
thank you. Yeah, in here. And it didn't seem to be attached to
And-
much.
Coming from where?
Coming from the 2 Crescent Street area.
Okay. Under the brook?
The brook is,
Not where it's shown.
yeah, the brook
Okay.
is further over here. And this is all wetland.
Oh, I see. You've got do you have, no, what is the blue line that we're seeing? Do you have another layer turned on? That's
think this
showing
is
more
just-
accurate lines?
I think this blue line right here is actually the line of Wilton Brook, this darker blue. Look at it. This is the mess.
So dry in there.
So using this projection, where does that drainage line that you had some images of kind of
It's like right in here,
like going towards the brook or going back
going
to
towards the wetland. But it didn't appear to be connected.
Yeah, so it doesn't really necessarily seem to be part of this project that we're discussing.
I wasn't convinced that it was.
Any evidence of any of the fill being placed?
Not that I could see. It looked,
Looks like fairly natural topography.
Yeah.
For the BW.
Yep.
Okay.
I think the thing that was more, that I noted more was the structures that were in the buffer zone and potentially along the line of the BW here, but I don't believe any of those were permitted by this project.
Okay. And did you, I'm assuming that we don't have the hand-drawn plan that's referenced here,
The 1969, no,
86.
no, we don't have that plan.
There's nothing in the files.
I couldn't find anything.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, the one that's, yeah, the hand-drawn plan, no.
It says Bird Haven.
Bird Haven.
Yeah, this was one of the structures. This was the one that was closest to the BBW. And that was a former pool. You can see on Mass Mapper, it still looks like a pool.
Questions or comments?
So what do we have to do to make it go away? Just,
We have an option in the certificate of compliance for certifying that the above referenced order of conditions has lapsed and is not valid, and that the work regulated by it was never started, which
that's what we
appears to be
feel.
the case.
Okay.
That seems to fit.
Yeah. For sure.
And if we do that, then they don't have any attachment to their deed that would complicate a land sale or anything like that.
Right. That would close out the order and it would cease to exist.
So I'll make a motion that the order of conditions just lapsed. The project was never started.
No, second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carries.
Thank you. Nice clean paper here.
Good.
I'm not sure there's anything else you brought up.
Well, I keep adding more open space things to it. So you can ask me to take those off. Yes.
Do you want these in the folders or do you want me to hand them?
I'll take them.
Thank you. Moving on to enforcement actions. Any updates?
The only update I have is on A 37 South Street. I just reached back out to the Dolls. Doing my best to try and get this one closed out. This one's been on the agenda for 12 years.
Yeah.
So
Decades.
decades, yes.
Like, has been decades.
So perhaps I'm just making a note of it mostly for myself, but perhaps the next time Matt is in front of us for the Anrod, we could take an opportunity to speak with him about this one as well.
Okay.
I don't have any other enforcement action updates.
All right. Open space updates.
Yes. Okay. The update I have, the first one for Echodale, the CPA committee recently has been committed to returning funds from projects whose project funding agreements have expired. So I gave a presentation to them about why both Echodale and Borkowski Parcel should maintain their funds and receive a 2-year extension. So at last Thursday's meeting, at the March 20th meeting, they issued the extension. So we have one of these for Echodale, and we also have one for Borkowski. So we fully have two more years of CPA funding, after which I believe the committee would likely grant another extension. They're just looking to formalize the process.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Yes.
Can you remind us what we have available for each of those?
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
talked about Borkowski relatively recently, but the other one I forgot.
Yeah. Hold on.
Not much for Echodale.
Echodale is not much, and I do believe Echodale, my understanding is we are in contract right now with Land Stewardship Inc. to use the rest of the
Okay.
Echodale funds. So the remaining in the Echodale account is 8,920.
Okay.
And then Borkowski, I noted that.
It's like 20, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit more, and I should note that this is not reconciled yet with Hadel. We've had some funds returned to us from a previous open contract with GZA that funds weren't fully used.
Right.
So the pre-reconciled balances indicate that we have 23,697 in the Borkowski account.
Great. Thank you.
Yes. And I did give them a little presentation. I don't really need to show this to you in full, but I just updated them on what's going on. And they were pleased that things were moving forward.
Great. As are we.
And it's so beautiful. That's Echodale.
What are the birds in that tree?
These are apples.
Apples. Oh.
They're apple birds.
Yeah, they look like birds.
Yeah, pretty much. It does seem.
So that's all I have on Echodale. We don't have any more updates. We probably won't have an update until we hear something from Chris in June.
Okay.
He starts doing some invasive species management. Borkowski, we're still waiting to hear back from Natural Heritage. I followed up with them this morning because it's past the day they said they'd get back to me.
You have a
And
meeting with them on the 21st.
they told me they would get back to me by the 21st.
Oh.
So I followed up this morning to ask about. Yeah, I would say there's the mountain bikers remain engaged. And I'm hoping once we have a meeting on the calendar with Natural Heritage, the mountain bikers will be there too, and we can all collaborate.
Sounds good.
The new one on the agenda is Oliver Street Forest. Have any of the commissioners been there?
Not sure. Can you show us where exactly that is?
I used the brush dump often enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is it adjacent to that?
It's exactly across the street from the brush dump.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I know
Must
the
have
Yep.
forest
lots of
well.
invasive species.
It's mostly like pine and mountain laurel. It was pretty nice. Good. Yeah. I need to investigate this a little bit farther, but a little bit more, but it seems as though, is it possible that the commission actually owns some land that goes into Northampton here?
Seems unlikely.
Anything's possible.
It's right on the line though.
It's right on the line, yeah. Okay, so here's the brush dump. We want to see it in street view first.
Yeah.
Okay, Park Hill's over here. Oliver Street's over here. If you've ever driven Oliver Street, you know that it is a three-way to Park Hill, but it sort of starts to feel like it's not because it turns into a dirt road for a brief
Right.
second. And so Oliver Street Forest, I'm referring to this little parcel right here. And then on Northampton's GIS, so here's the Northampton Easthampton line. On Northampton's GIS, it lists the owner of this parcel clearly over the line in Northampton as the Easthampton Conservation Commission.
I suppose it's plausible that it was all owned by one person and gifted to us.
Yeah,
Don't know.
I haven't done a deep dive yet on like the history of that land, how it came to us. Does anyone in the commission know anything?
No.
Nope, nothing. This is new to me.
Totally.
We should try to sell it.
And where is this relative to the community garden on Park Hill?
Totally. So Park Hill's over here, right?
On the other side.
So Oliver Street's right here, Park Hill's over here. And the community garden is right, it's this parcel right here. This is the parcel that's owned by the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
With the wetland right here, and the community garden is like right here. We can see it if we go back to aerial.
Correct.
And then the Lathrop stuff is over this direction, off to the right, right? So this is the opposite direction from that.
Yep, the Lathrop is off of Florence Road, which is
Yeah.
here. So this is Bassett Brook back here that Lathrop is part of.
So do these parcels they don't connect to that larger network of green planted space, do they? They're separate.
They're not even actually even listed as green on Mass Mapper, so they're not recorded as conservation land. I mean, they're not far from it,
Yeah.
right? Like this is a big continuous section, and then we have APR land down here that's
Mhm.
farmed. And Mineral Hills, Northampton's conservation area, is really not that far up here either.
Okay.
Mineral Hills is always a little funky because it's like actually
Yeah.
like disconnected, like there's different chunks of it. Sawmill up here, Mineral Hills over here. Again, we're looking, this is our spot.
Yeah, curious.
Mineral Hills Greenways over here. Yeah, it's not directly, this is not conserved land, but it is agricultural right in here.
Where does that front? That's on Clark.
I think it's on Torrey.
Oh, okay.
And I believe there's, I'm not sure exactly about the ownership. I'm just starting to put all the pieces together of land ownership and all this. Is any of the commissioners aware of the Breaky parcel, the Breakies up here?
Heard that name before, a long time ago,
Okay.
but I don't know.
They may own,
I don't remember the specifics.
they own a funky parcel in this area. That's off of like Loudville. They own this parcel with no frontage.
Where is that?
So this is Loudville right here, and this is Torrey. We were looking over here. These are the parcels that we were looking at right here. So if you come over, I believe they might also own.
Oh, it's that. Okay, I know what neighborhood that is.
Yes, I know.
Weird.
Yeah, this came up in a conversation, and I don't have anything to substantiate it. Just about there being possible wetlands back there, but
Who owns that?
no one having eyes on them. So
Breaky family?
the Breaky family, yeah.
Okay.
I think Garrett's in conversations with them as well. A lot going on.
Okay.
But if we return to Oliver Street, so the commission owns at least this little parcel that I feel confident about, and potentially the one that is in Northampton as
Right.
well.
Mhm.
And there are some existing trails there. I'll show you some images just so you have a sense of what we're talking about.
Is that Park Hill Road on the north side?
Looked like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yep, it connects. So it's like, it connects right up to Park Hill Road up here.
And it's actually drivable, or does it turn into kind of a like rocky, blown out dirt road?
I think they would call it rocky and blown out,
Okay.
but I think it is also,
Yeah,
I did it in my Prius. I've done it a lot of times on bike.
yeah.
Riding
That's, I
through
think
here.
I know I've cut through there on a bike, but I think I know what we're talking about.
What's the approximate acreage of these parcels?
This,
I mean, just ballpark.
yeah, this one is 8.8, so I imagine this one's
Little bit
slightly
bigger,
larger,
yep.
10.
Great, thank you.
around 20 acres.
How did you find it?
Yeah, so we'll get to that in a second, or I guess I can just talk about it now. So Al Donahue, a mountain biker in the community, gave me a call about it. So apparently these are used as cyclocross trails.
Mhm.
You were aware of this? Yeah. So these are,
Oh, it's on the list. In the open space.
it is, yeah. I mean, we have them all recorded. But so these are the trails. They're pretty, they're not marked at all. There's no markings on any of them, but they're pretty easy to follow if you're rolling through, if you're walking through. A little bench set up. I'm not sure why these are so small. This was a spot. This was the one marked spot. This was like abutting some of the neighbors' properties. But yeah, a lot of the trails kind of look like this. Just like pretty like easy to follow woodsy trails. And so Al gave me a call to let me know that a hiker had been setting bike traps on this parcel. So had been like putting logs in the trail, putting branches, like laying down branches to hit cyclists around like blind corners. And he was basically he was curious if I had any ideas on what should be done about this. He said the way that they currently function is like a more experienced rider. Sounds like they sometimes have like practices out here, like youth cyclocross will have practices out on this parcel because it's like a loop trail. So they'll do like many laps of the same loop. That a more experienced rider will do a loop and clear all the hazards. And then people will go ahead and use the trails. So I guess I just wanted to update the commission on it that we own this parcel. This is the current usage of it.
Sure.
I don't think the city has any, as far as I can tell, we don't have any guidelines about what kinds of recreation happen on our various conservation owned parcels. I don't see any reason that we would want to restrict bike access on this, but maybe even we would want to have a sign that more clearly indicates that all forms of recreation are usable on this parcel or any kind of signage here. I don't know. We're still very much in an early thought here, but it sounds like this is kind of a well-known parcel in a very small community, and otherwise I think it's used by neighbors who walk.
And a sore point with at least one person.
And a sore point with at least one person, yes, who seems to. And I asked Al if he knows who it is, and he says he thinks he does, but didn't really want to say more than that.
Right.
Did you say, Sarah, you found it in the open space plan? What's it say about it? You have it up in picture too.
There's parcel 118-5, informal and unmarked trails exist but are not mapped or maintained. The site does not contain any parking, public access, unknown, level of protection limited. Condition good. The site was chosen as potential location for a dog park in 2019. A schematic plan showed a dog park, perimeter trail, and parking. City Council determined it was too far from the center of Easthampton. Other uses such as disc golf and/or passive trail systems could be created.
Okay. And so that's pretty much all. It was identified on that adventure, but it doesn't have a name other than like Oliver Street Forest.
Oliver Street land.
Oliver Street land. And the dog park, as indicated in the open space plan, is now being pursued in Novichok Park. So it's no longer on the table.
I didn't know that. And there's no CR on this property?
There's no CR on this property, which is what I think I imagine was, because it's conservation owned.
Yep.
Conservation owned land, but it was considered for the dog park because it didn't have any restriction indicating it couldn't be.
What was the last property transfer on it? Is that right?
Good.
1852.
It should be in the GIS, you think?
Yeah.
The last sale date on here is March 5th, 1902.
You
weren't far off.
if that's correct. Again, I haven't really done like a full
Sure,
dive
sure.
on this parcel, so I apologize for any missing
What's
information
it
I
say?
have.
Can you see what the sale date is on the Northampton? Or do you have to?
Easthampton, no, but I can pull up Northampton's GIS. Hold on. You guys know that Ty and Bond hosts Northampton's GIS? So this is our parcel, or this is what it says. Easthampton, town of. Hmm. 0.6 acres. Yeah, I'm not seeing any information on
No, it
the
doesn't.
sale. We'll come back over here.
Same time.
Yeah, definitely a next step. I was gonna contact the conservation department in Northampton and see if Sarah Valley has a sense of what's going on with this parcel.
Mhm.
And if we actually own it. And I know it's not uncommon for conservation commissions to own CRs in other towns, particularly related to drinking water. And I know we own one in Southampton, but I don't know about owning land
Right.
in another town.
It's all the time, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the town line changed at some point.
They might want their back taxes. Alright.
So from a broader perspective, if they both are ours.
Yeah.
And there's no CR on it, we have a fair amount of freedom, I think, in terms of how it's managed, right?
I think that's true. And the same is true with Borkowski as well, right? There's no CR on that.
Part of it there is, right? Or no, there's none on any of it?
It was purchased using aquifer land protection funds that have some restrictions on it, but there's no formal
Oh.
CR on any of
Okay,
that.
I was thinking there was. Okay.
No, just, maybe just find out a little bit more information and see what comes out of it.
Are there, if we wanted to get some funding for signage, is there an opportunity to request CPA funds?
I would think so, yes. It wouldn't be a very expensive
Yeah,
ordeal either.
right. And I wonder if it might make sense, given that the primary user group seems to be the cycling community again, I wonder if it would make sense to work with Al and Scott and company again on some of the management
Yeah,
Sure,
of the system.
sure.
as far as I could tell, and I wasn't there for that long, but it's a pretty small system. The
Yeah.
trails are mostly in pretty good shape, like in contrast to Borkowski, where I think a big trail overhaul would really improve
Mhm.
recreational access on the site. I think some signage would probably go a long way, and particularly in terms of just maybe easing tensions.
I didn't see any evidence of any of what's been alleged, right?
I didn't see it when I was out there, no. The only piece that I saw that I was a little bit suspicious of was that this is a classic. I have some friends who do cyclocross, so my understanding is that this is kind of a classic cyclocross feature is you ride on like the side of hillsides. So this was a place where there is a trail that goes back here that's like on level ground, but this is like on a slope.
Well, it's more challenging, so there.
Right.
pushing it.
It just didn't strike me as like sustainable trail design because it is
Right.
on the side of the slope, but I think there's I don't know if I have any more images of it. It also didn't seem like egregious either. Would the commission want to do a larger sign project for various parcels, or do you think? I think very few of our parcels are signed at all, even not even like necessarily trail signs, but even just like Easthampton conservation land.
Right.
We have a lot of it.
We do.
I think that would be a great thing to aspire to. Maybe we should highlight one of ours and see, sort of come up with a scheme of what works and styles and all of that.
Yeah, coming up with like lists of permitted uses on every parcel might be a huge hassle, you know, because even with this one, it might be like, well, did we say hunting's allowed? 'Cause it is, but did we say it or not? You know,
Yeah.
like,
Or something.
yeah, I don't know. And if we say this, you know, that hunting is just one example of like, you know, like it seems to be okay like it is, but if we actually were to provide an opinion as to whether it was possible parcel or not, it would lead to people being cranky either way, probably. And it's probably a lot of different things like that.
One's very interesting.
No, I want to go back.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's a nice walk. Yeah. A lot of mountain laurel, so it's green right now. Still.
Oh,
So I can reach out to Al and the cyclocross community and see what their sense is of, so what they would maybe want from a signage perspective. In terms of a pilot signage program. I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Buttrick, about it gets complicated if we start talking about permitted uses of various kinds. Would we at the least want to have a sign that says something that gives this parcel a name and says like,
Yes, just,
Hiking and-
you're right, Easthampton Conservation Land or something like that. Doesn't have to define what the usage is necessarily.
right,
Yeah, just like please treat with respect or something.
right.
I don't know.
Do we want to enumerate that biking and hiking are both allowed?
Sure.
I don't see any reason why not. Yeah. And I mean, maybe we could do something as simple as, you know, like a simple name sign, and then we could have symbols of like a hiker and a biker and just some simple things that you could put on each one. And then if we wanted to have some places where some activity was excluded, you just put the line through it and then people know,
Right.
okay, here I'm allowed, there I'm not. I think having that would certainly help to address some of the use conflicts that come up where people just aren't sure if they're really supposed to be doing a thing there or not. So it's hard to know how to respond when you see someone.
Right.
What is post-comic?
They have little signs at their trailhead, at their conservation areas, right, that define them as conservation areas.
They usually have
And
written
then they
rules.
do. Yeah. And they're
Like
pretty,
no dumping, no littering.
yeah, but they also, they don't allow dogs on their properties at this point.
Yeah, the one,
Water does.
what's the old?
Oh, yeah, maybe some of them do.
Yeah,
some of them
they're
don't.
all different. What's the long one off of, is it the other Clark? The old
it Brickyard?
trolley something?
Oh, yeah, the old trolley line.
Yeah, that one specifically excludes bikes.
Yep.
I was about to ride down it, and I was like, oh, wait, that's nice, because I can't go here.
Totally.
Yeah, but they have written rules at all of theirs, I think.
Yeah, they've probably been doing it the entire time, and when they buy a parcel, they probably set the rules right.
Probably, yeah.
Over there, right.
The way
I mean,
one does.
Yes,
Yes.
They're managing their property.
totally. Well, this is,
Purposely.
right.
Yeah.
I feel like this is yeah, part of a larger trend of that I've been coming
Yeah.
up against as I've been looking into, taking stock of all of our open space parcels and thinking about further management of like, I really have not been able to find hardly any baseline documentation reports, which
Mhm.
I guess, prompts me to wonder if I should just go do them now. They're no longer really baseline. Should call them something else, but
It can still get called baseline.
they do, even if they're,
If there's never been one done, then
yeah,
one you're doing is
is the baseline one. Yeah.
Access to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll reach out. I'll see if I'll get some information about what they would want on a sign. What the cyclocross folks would want on a sign. Or signs. Are we think signs within the parcel orienting? It's a pretty small parcel. This one might be fine without a.
Yeah, I only really know of one access point. I don't know if there are others.
You can access it from, these trails are actually like pretty accurate. You can access it from Park Hill. You can come in here and you can come off of like this spot too.
Okay.
Is it an organized cyclocross group or is it just like people that cyclocross that go there?
I don't know for certain, but the way that Al was describing it, it sounds like he takes like kids groups, like a team there.
Yeah, I
know
think
more
there,
details
I
of
think
that?
some of the senior experienced cyclocross folks, that there's a strange concentration of like national and world-class level cyclocross people in Easthampton, Massachusetts. I don't fully understand what the history of that is, except that I think it developed over time because people have come to train with them. So there are some youth development teams. Al runs one, and I think they take people and ride through a few different places where they have either relationships with private landowners, or I always assumed this was just a private landowner they were working with, but apparently it's us. So they've got various spots that they do that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and I just will say, like, I think it seems, from my assessment, it seemed like a pretty good spot for them to be riding. Like, there's not a ton of competing usage of the land. It's a relatively small course. It's all upland, seems like a good spot to have people on bikes kind of just going in circles.
Mhm. And it's an easy one I'm sure they just ride there too. It's an easy one to get in and out of. By just riding there on the side streets.
Right. And it's interesting that the open space and recreation plan notes, I mean, I guess there's no official parking, but it's really easy to park there because Oliver Street's pretty wide there and hardly anyone is using it as a drive-through.
There's no traffic unless the brush dump is open on alternate
Mhm.
Saturdays.
Right.
Exactly. Right. And it's really quite wide. Like there's a wide area to pull off. I think you could easily have 10 cars there without it being any kind of issue.
What about the erosion on the hillside?
Yeah.
Signage around.
I could look into that a little further, get some more images.
I guess if we work with that same group as Burkowski, they would maybe
Yeah.
know how to advise.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a similar situation where we set up some kind of MOU for use and maintenance and monitoring of, usually, I mean, like if I have a feeling that they do some maintenance of these trails that they're using probably on an annual basis to keep them tuned up for what they're trying to train anyways. So they may already be doing that informally.
Right. Al said that there's some sick pines in here, so trees are falling often, so they do quite a bit of work clearing them and moving them out of the flow of the trail.
Yeah.
But didn't them cyclocross people get along with
It's
it?
the same.
It's not like oil and water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, and more broadly, I mean, these relationships we're starting with the cycling community could be part of a larger effort to develop some sort of volunteer land management relationships for different parcels. because, I mean, I think the fact that we don't even know that this one exists.
Yeah, right.
We have not had the time to do much of anything since I've been on the commission with our open space properties. And I know some communities have pretty robust volunteer crews that they do projects with for trail maintenance and clearing and things. So, I mean, I see these as potential pilots to start to actually manage some of our lands and trail networks and start to actually do something to keep these properties in good shape for everybody to be able to use long term. And if we've got people that are already doing that ad hoc, let's capitalize on it.
Sure.
Right, and formalize it
Yeah.
like that.
We seem to have a full class, lots of things, rock diggers. Just famous.
And Easthampton is the center of the world.
Okay, from a just the sign perspective, so the CPA fourth quarter fiscal 25 deadline is coming up rather quickly. April 5th is when applications need to be in.
Okay.
And then they review applications on a quarterly cycle. So the next opportunity to apply and actually receive funding would be July.
Okay.
With receiving funding in September. It's a slow process.
We might need some time to put something together anyway, so.
Yeah, I guess I was curious if
Yeah.
you wanted me to try to move for the April 5th.
What level of detail do we need to put in a request? Do we need like a detailed quote if we wanted to do signage, or do we just need to say, we want to put some signs in?
It
here's
would
our
be good
plan?
to have a price because they're gonna wanna know, well, okay,
Okay.
sure, we're gonna do this, but what's the number? Is it $1,000 or is it $10,000? So
Can anybody think of a town that has good signs already that we may be able to reach out to? And
that's right. That's what we should be doing is
I
trying
mean, I
to,
was thinking Amherst, right? Amherst conservation areas are pretty well marked
are they?
and they have a ton of them.
Maybe reach out to Erin Jock and see if
Yeah.
you know her.
Yep.
See if she can just give you some information on where they get those made. And
yeah, we
If
should
you've
try
got
to
any cost estimates
model
or
ourselves
something.
after someone who's already
yeah,
made all the mistakes.
I had a client have me buy a sign from Mass Department of Corrections who makes signs for super cheap. But they're more like road sign style. I don't know.
like metal.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I honestly don't know what they have for an option, but they were like, hey, can you buy us a sign? And I was like, oh, okay. It was like $35 for a,
Okay, no,
You
that's
know.
good to know.
The other, you could also reach out to parks.
Yeah.
Because that's the only like park-esque signage I can think of that we have in town is like the stuff at Nanatucket.
Right.
They've got all those signs.
I also could ask Piscomich.
Comments?
Oh, yeah.
I also think I've sseen people talking about this on the like Massland listserv.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
I will
let's-
see.
I mean, we don't have. Do we have another meeting before the fifth?
We
No,
don't.
do we?
no, 7th.
7th
Okay.
is our next one.
But we do, yeah, I mean, we don't have to decide, like, obviously the commission will want to review, like, what we actually put on the signs and pieces like that.
Yeah.
But I think I could probably proceed with finding a quote for, so what I'm imagining is we would want like a sign that's visible from Oliver Street,
Mm-hmm.
like that big.
Needs to be.
Yeah, I'm thinking if somebody is, already walking on the property and walking by it, something
Yeah.
a quarter of that size would probably work very well.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of land trust signs for their properties are just sort of a, like a 18 by 12 or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see doing something like that maybe, and then maybe it's got like a little, sometimes they have like the little
Hanging piece
hangy
down
thing,
for-
and that could have like the use symbols or something. I don't know, I mean, maybe that's not what we want, but something
Okay.
on that
Yeah,
scale.
let's see what some other people are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, do we want Ava to try to get a quote and something to work with and put in a request with CPA at this by this April 5th
I
deadline?
think
Or
she's
do
gonna
we
be
want
jumping through some hoops to do that at this point. I think it's,
Do you have time? Because it might not exist, but.
Yeah.
It might, what, sorry.
I mean, that the rate that departments and funding are all collapsing.
CPA is local. I don't think it's going anywhere in the next.
And it's really state funded, so.
State funding is tied to federal funding. So
CPA comes directly from our dollars.
Right.
Yeah, CPA is actually cool. It's a safe one because it's,
Yeah.
even the state match comes from the recordings after registry. So every time we send someone to go get order recorded.
These days.
Yeah, so the image I have in my mind is like city of Easthampton, all big parcel, no motorized vehicles, administered by Easthampton Conservation Commission, and then, buy a sign like that, maybe with options to add on, I don't know, more if we decide we need more or something like that, and then have DPW like put it in. They will do that,
Yeah, I bet that could happen.
Yeah, I don't know if people's heads would explode if Easthampton DPW start putting signs in Northampton.
Well, we could just put it at our access point, which is on our side of Elmer Street, rather
It'd be a
than,
real fine start.
so like, here, let me just pull it back up. Would we want a sign that has like, the mileage of the loop? Like, like one of those where they like name the loop. I feel like all Kestrel signs always have something like that, or like trustees signs. They're like,
I would be inclined to say no in this case because I'm not sure how established versus changing these trails are. So I'm not sure that length is completely static.
that makes sense.
I think it always exists, but I'm not sure if it always exists in exactly the same configuration, especially if trees are shifting and coming down.
It's true.
They might be modifying it.
Nice of them.
It'd be nice to have a bulletin board, with like a little, but that's. that
Yeah,
takes
little
more-
kiosks.
Yeah, takes more stuff to manage.
We could go for a kiosk though.
A little doodad with poop bags on it. The sign says back out. I don't know, but it takes more maintenance.
So what
Yeah,
would happen if we put together a CPA request for a broader project of developing a signage program for our properties? Is that something that would fly, Jay?
I think so.
That might be the way to go. To not like have this be our first pilot for implementation, but put a little thought into what we want these to look like and talk to Pascomic and others about like who's designing and building these and
and imagining a kiosk. That was also that's in the open space and recreation plan, the current 7-year plan that we're currently in right now,
okay.
is to develop a signage and trail map system.
That's gonna
There we
take us
go.
8 to 10 years to figure out.
Well, that's why we need CPA money so we can pay somebody to help us develop
That's
that
correct. So
and not
maybe
have
pen-
us be the designers.
Right. Benchmark off someone else who's already has experience doing
Yes,
it and
yeah.
come up with some ideas that are,
Especially,
already-
Patrick, this is
Yeah.
also why, Cassie's role was split, is so that I can take on projects like this as well.
Yep, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so perhaps we're not gonna try to rush.
Yeah,
for
I don't
the
think we
April
should,
5th.
I don't think we should rush for that. Let's put a better plan together.
Okay, and then have an eye on
And
the
bench-
July.
Benchmark off
Yeah.
some other people and
Yep.
get some
Yep.
better ideas.
Well, so are we rushing for April 5th for a sign plan, money, dollar ask or? no?
I think no.
No,
I
I don't
think we
think we
wanna,
should.
I
I
think
think
we
we
wanna
should.
do a little research, figure out who we wanna work with, get a quote together.
Okay.
Not solve the
not re-
problem, but
yeah, not
solve
reinvent it,
who's
yeah.
gonna help us solve the
Don't
problem.
reinvent the whole problem either.
Yeah,
Right, and we'd wanna also at some point think about which parcels we would want
Mhm.
this for as well.
Yep.
Which would probably require a really distinguishable.
You just put on the signs, your CPA funds at work, they'll get you signs. For sure.
true, yeah.
We have a couple of parcels that have the brown sign with the big yellow C on them. I think there's 2 of those around
What's the C?
conservation.
What are them?
There's one there's one on Park Hill at the Echo Dale West, I think. And there's one down by, Hendrick Street.
Yeah,
there was the
Borkowski.
Entrance to the Borkowski parcel.
Here, let me project that sign.
There's a C on it? I can't picture this.
That's how I picture it. I could be completely wrong.
The Borkowski one is low and it's like just a board on wood posts, right?
Yeah, I thought,
Or
I'm
is there
picturing
something
like
else
a
there?
hanging black thingy.
Yeah.
And I know Stuart Beckley said that the one that said Echodale West, he had to steal from another parcel.
The parcel.
Yeah, because like the city just bought this new parcel and he's like, yeah, I need a sign. So he stole it from another parcel or had DVW steal and put it there. You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Bring up the street view from,
Yeah, it's true. I was looking, I thought I had a photo in mind, but we could just do street view.
I've never honestly got up close to the signs and looked at them to see what they actually say.
No, I think just a Borkowski.
And it says you guys on it. It says the Conservation Commission.
Do we see it?
Yeah. Mm. Oh, I'm so excited for it to look like this again.
Ball. You could just jump ahead of the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bigger sign than I thought.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not,
it's
so
pretty-
that's not the one I was thinking of. but
It's pretty, well, this is what I had in my head
Yeah.
when I was
Oh,
thinking
that's not
about
what I
it.
had.
Yeah,
I don't see the big C though.
No, I think Dan made that part up.
No,
Like I made up
I'm
the
talking
single
about
board
a
on
different
posts.
sign. Maybe it's not here, maybe it's someplace else.
So this says, yeah, Broadbrook Forest access to Catherine Root Conservation Area and Borkowski Cooperative Conservation Project between the Easthampton Conservation Commission and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Wait, where is this?
That's
This
what
is
it
the Borkowski one?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yep, and then the access is this little parcel is right along
What's
here.
the Catherine Root parcel? Because Catherine Root Wayside Park is over at the corner of 10 and Torrance.
Yeah, no, this is a different, same woman, but
Huh.
totally different parcel. Hold on, I can show
I
it.
not know that.
The Catherine Root
It just
parcel
has
was,
that little narrow access, right?
Yeah, that looks
yes, the access is both of them. The Catherine Root parcel is the parcel that sustained most of the
Okay.
microburst
Historic, yeah,
damage.
burst, yeah.
So this,
Oh, I did not know that was what it was called.
this one right here is
Okay,
this root.
cool.
This is one only root, and then it goes Borkowski, Rocky. This is Town Forest.
Mhm.
This is the Kuja CR. And then this is the unowned parcel that I would like the commission to purchase.
Did you say unowned?
Oh, sorry, not owned
Oh,
by us.
okay.
Yeah, no. This is
Okay.
the Jacques own this parcel.
Okay, gotcha.
You want us to buy it?
I think the city would if it ever comes up. It's in chapter 61. Okay,
Probably.
so we have the right of first
Yeah.
refusal.
Probably been in discussions on and off for decades.
Yeah,
or
right.
whatever, Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that would be awesome.
Are they looking to give it up?
I don't have any contact with them yet. But it's completely, it has no frontage.
Keep Street View on that thing, Jay. Google Street View.
All right, well, I think this is a great side project.
Yes. Great, okay. So I'll start figuring out, I'll speak with the cyclists and see what they would like on a sign. I'll do some research about various other signs and start thinking about a CPA application, and we'll keep checking in along the way. Cool.
Neat.
Yeah. Would we like to do anything would we like to communicate anything to the cyclists in the meantime about what to do about their shared use issue?
Just
Well-
send somebody ahead to move the sticks.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
hopefully the sign is a step in that direction.
Right, the signs a
The
ways
sign's
off
just
now.
a ways off
Yeah.
for
right,
an
you're right,
immediate
till the fall.
issue.
Set up cameras. And then have a conversation with them?
I guess I will communicate to Al that as far as the Conservation Commission, who's the owner of the property, is concerned, cycling is allowed on the parcel. So
Yeah.
he can say that the landowner says that cycling is allowed on the parcel.
And does he already, is he in contact with the other group of cyclists that we have been working with?
Yes.
Yeah, he was part of that meeting. He was
Oh, okay.
online. Yeah, I guess the other thing we
Yeah.
could consider is just a temporary laminated notice that we put out.
Yeah.
What do people think about that?
I think that's a
That's a
good
good
stopgap. Yeah, that we're addressing their concerns and working to get something more.
Just-
Right,
That is familiar, but I don't think I ever recognized that that was a C,
that's our sign.
and it's supposed to mean conservation.
I think so.
I had no idea.
Which parcel was this at?
This is at the Equidale West.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, so you want to think about what that should be. I mean, it's just something simple to
Yeah.
There's
basically
at least
say,
two of them around town.
hiking and cycling are both allowed
Cycling,
uses
yeah.
on this parcel.
Yep.
Please respect, blah, 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 whatever.
Please share the trail, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
just something simple that could be, put the city seal, or if we actually have a symbol that we use for conservation commission, which maybe we do. Let's
So-
put something on it and just laminate it.
Okay, that sounds good.
That sign says Cooperative Conservation Project between the Easthampton Conservation Commission and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
I think we need to ask the social worker on the sorry, property use dispute to support group. You see a lot of those happening in Easthampton. Have those East Street folks.
Okay, great. I'll work on a laminated sign as a temporary note and let Al know about all this. Something else I was thinking about is that we could give this parcel a name eventually when we get moved towards a more permanent sign.
Mhm.
Because I think there's no reason it needs to be called
You
the
could call it
Oliver
Oliver.
Street. No, it could have something more exciting than the Oliver Street. but-
Okay.
We're definitely gonna have to go out and walk it and get to know it if we're gonna give it a name.
For sure, for sure. Gotta get
Otherwise.
comfortable. Yeah,
Were there any wetlands on it?
no wetlands on this parcel.
Think about voting with both face.
Yeah, yes, by all means, let's not have a public contest.
Great. Okay. That's all I got for open space.
All right, compliance updates, which projects do we need to talk about?
Very, very little. I have an update on, Easthampton Housing Authority.
When is that?
That committee, you guys?
Yep.
All the letters are about to shift now.
Mhm.
The tree removal is planned for this week. So that's phase one of their pre-construction. We had the pre-construction site visit for tree removal. Both Jay and Hal were there back in the winter, and then they were waiting to do it until they could, I guess.
Okay.
But we have the commission will have a second pre-construction site visit after tree removal prior to the next phase.
We were doing the tree removal before they put in erosion controls, right? Because one was gonna interfere with the other.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they're just gonna have straw wattles. They just
Yep.
have straw wattles installed for this.
Yes, I remember.
Great. Install more.
Okay.
And I don't have any other open space updates. Or I don't have any other compliance updates.
Okay. General business, do we have meeting minutes to accept from
Yes.
March 10th?
Yep.
Have folks had a chance to review any comments that were not already integrated?
Good.
Would
Looks
anyone
good.
like to make a motion to accept those minutes?
I will move that we accept the minutes of March 10th meeting.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Wetlands ordinance, any updates on the review that's going on behind the scenes?
No updates. She's working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And then Hilltown Charter Playground expansion, that's a new one.
Yeah, I just wanted to get this on all of your radar, because I've been in conversations with them. So for commissioners who were on the commission in 2014,
Oh, this is the school.
this is the
Yes,
school.
okay.
Yep. Was that just, Commissioner Weeks, Commissioner Ryan, 2014? Oh, no, Commissioner Butcher.
I was on.
You were on in 2014.
No, I wasn't. Was I?
I don't remember.
No,
Commissioner
not
Butcher,
yet.
Commissioner Ryan.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think I started in 15.
Totally. So this is the Hilltown Cooperative Charter School located at 1 Industrial Way. This is O'Neill Street over here. This is their plan from 2014. So my vague sense of the history of how this property came to be and what the wetlands review of it, and please interject if you remember pieces of this as we go, but is that Hilltown purchased this property. This existing building remained. They kept the building. They renovated inside, but they kept the footprint the same. And then they were looking at their building out their play area. And at the time, a much larger stretch of this was currently mowed. So it had been mowed. And then they had a wetland delineation done. And so their original plan was to have this like large play area in this whole like mowed section. That goes up to like the back of Cumberland Farms is like, that's where it is in town. And then they had a wetland delineation done and they found that the wetland line actually ran like straight down the middle of the field. And so the commission in 2014 required them to allow the wetland to regrow, to cease mowing it, and to build their play area within the buffer zone. So this was the plan that the commission reviewed in 2014, the like revised plan. And I guess a couple things I'll note. So down here's the school. This was the climbing structure proposed at the time. This is roughly where it was built.
Can I interrupt with a question?
Please.
A year or two or so ago, they came and talked to us. I think we did an RDA for some bog bridges. Where is that in relationship to this sketch road?
So the bog bridges are all through here. So this whole area has really successfully grown in.
Yep.
So successful, honestly, that like being out there, it's a little bit hard to tell where the line, like what was mowed. Yeah, 11 years. There's shrubs in there. There's little trees. There's a lot going on.
Okay.
And
And
so
they have sort of like a little nature walking trail, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So they have
Yep.
a nature walking trail that's like all through here and it comes out behind the school over here.
Okay.
Bog bridges, and they do invasive species management. And part of this 2014 RDA was that they were going to do invasive species management as the parcel or as the wetland grew back in.
Okay.
I have some questions about this plan, namely like this infiltration swale. This very much looks like a stormwater feature that comes up here.
I can't see where you're pointing at.
Oh,
Middle left.
this piece right here, this infiltration swale. On this map, this plan that we have from 2014 seems to be connected, like part of the continuous wetland. You see this stand over here.
It's in the lime green. There's a different green.
Yep, okay.
So I guess my assessment from this is that they were treating it as jurisdictional at the time. Part of a larger wetland complex, I guess. At this point, so there's a fence line here. At this point, it's not connected.
It's not.
The infiltration swale is not connected to this wetland.
Where is it disconnected?
The grass goes up to the fence line here.
Okay.
So the reason this is in front of us right now is the commission, the school is planning on building a new play structure. This play structure they're planning on redoing. This play structure isn't currently up to playground code, so they need to have more resilience.
Serious stuff.
Somehow we all made it to it.
We never had.
Shocking. It's really quite shocking.
The monkey, I swear to God, the monkey behind in Center Pepin broke like 50% of the arms in the city of Easthampton. Every single kid. Like,
So you can see this like transposes what they're hoping to build, and you can see the line here of what they did actually build. It's a little bit hard to tell. This is all I got for you guys.
Okay.
But can you all see it sort of vaguely? It's like the corner is here of the mulch and then the line goes like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an expansion of the mulch area, and it is towards the wetland, a good like 10 feet or so here.
Okay.
This is the infiltration swale, as I noted right on the previous plan that like shows up right here. We're like so close right here. We're like
Sorry, where?
right down here.
I don't see your.
Oh,
So
my cursor's
this
not
is
visible.
the
Yes.
infiltration
Okay.
swale,
Yep.
and that's where the corner comes in.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you. I don't know why my cursor's not visible on this one.
But what it comes down to is that they haven't done a delineation, don't want to, right?
Yeah. So
Hmm.
right. So what? Yeah. So I was out there. So Matt Verson, who is the invasive plant manager, who's working for the co-op, who came
Yeah.
before the commission, is a Hilltown parent.
Okay.
So he met me out here, and we took a look at the soils, just to get a sense because because obviously we're really close to the line here as marked on the 2014 plan,
Mm-hmm.
but this plan doesn't give us a ton to work with in terms of landmarks. We have the corner of the building and that's basically it, but this isn't an as-built. So we don't actually know if this playground was built exactly where it looks like it was. And you know, this shows the wood chips going right up to the wetland line. There's a good 5 feet mowed beyond where the wood chips are currently.
Was there a delineation or survey here?
Yes.
Okay.
So
that's-
GZA did this survey in 2014.
All right, what we're looking at is a landscape architect.
Sure.
rendering.
Right.
Does it has a
I
survey?
can see the
underneath it?
flags in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so they drew it here. The limit of work they followed is the wetland line.
Okay.
But I'm still confused about this infiltration swale and how that is all connected. Yeah. So we took a look and we took a couple soil samples along here in the current grass area, and certainly saw some evidence of hydric soils in what they are saying, you know, if this plan was followed, would have been upland. So I told them that my assessment was that they should get a delineation done. And if they can truly stay in the buffer zone with their proposed plan, the commission would review an RDA. But if there's going to be wetland impact, they're going to have to follow through on the NOI process.
That seems reasonable.
So anyways, thank you for giving me. I just wanted to update you all on
Yeah,
like
sure.
what review's been done so far and what
Mhm.
we've taken a look at. It's really a bummer we don't have an as-built from this because it would be nice to see like what actually happened.
Yeah, this isn't still on this list of open projects that haven't been.
Yes.
Well, and the other thing that might be helpful is if they can get the GPS points from the prior delineation
Yeah.
and we can match up where the edge of mowing was approved to be relative to those points, which it looks like it follows.
Yeah.
Then it might be valuable to know if they're mowing where they're supposed to be mowing or if they're mowing beyond that as a
Sure.
starting point.
Yep.
Since the agreement, it sounds like from this time point was to limit mowing to this approved area.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I can ask. Yeah, I have to figure out who. I think it's GCA who did this. I called this landscape architect.
Does this affect the property that's next to it where they put the bog bridges? It was a automotive business that we had an enforcement order.
That's across
Remember the
industrial
north one?
way. Yeah, I don't think this is, I don't think it's the same. Yeah, it's not the
Yeah.
same wetland complex because they're across the street
Uh-huh.
and their wetlands are the wetlands that like go down into that. Like,
Yeah.
behind that whole industrial area.
It's. I don't think it was across the street. I think complete was like right up the hill from it.
Yeah, it's complete.
Yeah,
That's what it
that's
was.
other automotive place that we had an enforcement issue for a while. And
There was
hasn't been
they were
listed.
mowing,
At the very end of the street, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like the second
and I think that's
driveway.
further up.
We
the
haven't
hill.
had anything on industrial, I don't think.
I thought Cassie took me out, yeah, 10 Industrial.
Oh,
At
the
the
Gates
end.
property, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That is,
They had stored
that's
cars.
this one.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Yeah.
they were mowing.
So, right, so Hilltown's over here, Hilltown's this one.
Yep.
The cars and mowing though, that was somewhere else.
That,
Oh,
no, that's,
no,
that's
that was up
abutting
the
this,
hill right
up the hill.
behind ESB.
Yes.
Right.
As you're coming
Yeah,
down
so
that
I
hill
think
on
it's
your
where the
right.
33 is on that
That's
diagram.
Complete automotive
Complete
with the
automotive.
cars on the grass. This is Hilltown Charter right next to it.
Yeah, so they were parking the cars maybe on that
Mhm.
resource
Right.
area.
Oh, interesting, right,
And
yeah.
then
Yeah.
where they wanted to do the trail was right up against the property.
Oh, okay,
Oh, I had
interesting.
no idea that's where this.
And then there's that little stringy thing that comes down. I think it goes under.
But
the
we
building.
haven't had any
St.
dealings
Martin.
with that automotive place.
Oh, no,
for
that
quite a
was
while.
It
done.
was closed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say that from what I've heard from Hilltown, and I think perhaps the teacher who came before you guys for the Bob Bridges noted this at the time as well, that Hilltown believes their wetland has gotten wetter since Cumberland Farms.
Right.
since the
Okay.
Farms.
I've been saying that those wetlands have been getting wetter my entire time. Conservation Commission for 17
Perhaps they are just wetlands.
It could very well be. There's more development. Easthampton Savings Bank is new, Cumberland Farms is new.
Sure.
Complete Automotive was new since I've been on the commission. That entire corner.
Mhm.
And it all meets.
It all
It's all
flows
boxed-
downhill.
It's all boxed in
It
there.
all-
It does.
It's all Midstorm. People were saying Obashan was causing problems. That's across the street. I know that's been there forever, but there's people still complaining about Obashan. So I don't know.
Well,
Yes.
every time you take out vegetation.
Right.
If what they're doing though is limited to the playground expansion, you can let them know that they don't necessarily need to delineate their whole parcel. They could just delineate the areas towards which they're wanting to go.
And even if they have those GPS locations, that'd be good enough for us.
Well, no, that's too old.
Too old,
It's too,
okay.
way too old.
Right.
But
Particularly if the parcel has gotten wetter.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Valley Medical's new.
but it might still be helpful for the whole process to understand if their mode area is where their mode area was
Was
approved
supposed to be,
or
for
if it's
10 years ago,
Yeah.
15 years ago.
Right. Yeah, I did one, not that this is but it's a pretty wet playground as you're moseying around it.
Mhm.
Dug a 8-inch test pit, just a quick with my auger and it
Filled in.
filled with water in the outlet
Yeah.
section.
Wow.
When did you do
In
that
the
site
uplands
visit?
section, in the supposedly
in the
upland, okay.
supposed, in the grass,
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
When was that site visit?
It was 3 days after Monday's rain. It was like Thursday.
It might just be stuff. from protection.
Okay, that's all on Hilltown. Just a couple other quick notes that on the agenda. I just wanted to update you on 48 Clapp Street, that RDA. I did my pre-construction site visit there. This was the septic system replacement from Jim Grisha.
Right, okay.
So I did the pre-construction site visit there and the water was replaced and staked. And he might already be done at this point with that septic system replacement. Beth Gula of New England Forestry Foundation shared a proposed seed mix with the commission. There isn't really a good spot for us to put like RDA updates except under general business. Is that how that's historically been?
Do it under previous thing, appliance updates.
But they're not.
We don't,
On our
they're not
list.
usually on there as tracked items, but you can add them if there's something.
At the bottom.
We just add a new item
Yeah.
that's RDA.
Yeah.
updates.
RDA updates. Okay.
Especially if it's something like this one, we know we're gonna talk about periodically, so yeah, you might as well just put it on there.
Okay. Great. So this was the seed mix plan for, under for where the soil disturbance was located. Um,
I'm sorry, what property is this?
this is the site of the holes, the Hartnett Manhan Memorial Forest.
So my only comment on this, Ava, I know it was generated as a custom mix with the intention of it being appropriate for shade. I'm not convinced, looking at these, that they're gonna grow in shade, and I know one of the things we talked about was not wanting them to spend money on a fancy seed mix that nothing's gonna germinate because the conditions are wrong, so I might suggest that she just press a little harder, because like the asters, the goldenrod, I think the Joe Pye weed, I'm not sure about woolgrass, but I think of it as being more of a sun species. I think the swamp milkweed is liking sun. I think of beard tongue as liking sun. Like, I'm not seeing this being super successful.
Be kind of sunny down there, maybe.
It's a lot of pine though.
Yeah.
I think they should plant a lot of poison ivy.
I mean, don't know that we can recommend that, but they are the landowner.
What is it, seedlings or?
Yeah, that was separate.
That was up.
I
Yeah,
think those are still coming. Yeah. Glenn was sick more.
yeah, we're gonna do a little of both.
No skunk cabbage ever?
It's not something you can buy.
Okay.
It's not something you can purchase.
I don't know if they would like that kind of soil there either.
No.
Too sandy,
Pretty sad.
too dry.
Yeah. And
This
this is for a range of areas along the slope and at the base, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
mostly I would say this is, distinctly out of land subject to flooding
Yeah.
and fully in upland riverfront area.
Yeah. To which end, again, this doesn't seem like the right mix.
Okay.
And my primary concern is just, these seed mixes are always expensive, and I don't want them to
Yes.
spend a bunch of money on things that aren't gonna grow because
Sure.
they're the wrong things.
Okay.
So, maybe if she hasn't already, have her share some slope information too.
Yep.
Slope
Okay.
and aspect might help.
Yep.
I think the New England wetland plants people are pretty good at picking the right things. Maybe they just didn't get enough information,
Okay.
but this doesn't strike me as stuff that's gonna grow well there. And the juncus is gonna wanna be wetter than I think it is.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised by those
Yeah.
obligate species. Don't seem to make a lot of sense
Yeah,
to
no,
me in a
they really
spot
don't.
that's.
In my experience, New England wetland plants, if that's where they're talking to, they like putting in a kind of a variety so that,
Yes, which is great.
species will say, I like this spot, and they will take over.
Swamp milkweed. It may say it's obligate, but I mean, I have that in my yard. It's not obligated. It's not actually obligated to be wet, but. But it likes a lot of sun.
Right. Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will likely have a revised one for you then. Next meeting. The only other note I had was just to note, given that it was continued, just to remind the commissioners that we have a site visit to, Holly Circle, the site of the AMRAD, on Wednesday of this week, if any commissioner would like to join. I was.
2 o'clock, right? 2 to 4 years.
Yes, I had 2 to 4. 2 to 4 is probably a little too long, but GZA is
Yes.
going to meet us out there and walk us through their delineation. I was already out there with Steve of Goddard Consulting, so I took a look at his analysis of it as well.
Did he hang flags where he was recommending changes? Is that
Yes,
the approach that was used?
he marked 2 changes to the wetland on the other side of the field. He bumped it in, but other than that, the sense that, and we'll have his full peer review next week or next meeting. But he was really I think most of his comments are going to be around consistency with regards to the perennial versus intermittent designation. And there's a large pool there that he suggested I watch for vernal pool.
Okay.
For salamander behavior. So that's on my radar to take a look for.
Okay.
As well.
Sounds good.
That would impact stormwater, right? The certified vernal pool. Because it's an outstanding resource water.
I don't think we've ever encountered that, but seems right.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Yeah.
Tasty Top, still not building, because I see that there's lots of fencing they put up around there, and there's a backhoe on site.
The backhoe has been there.
I think that's been there.
Yeah.
Fencing's been there.
The sun fencing's been there. Their silt fence is fully installed, but I like I said last time, if any commissioner sees any activity, please just give me a call immediately and I'll go poke around. Yep. Great.
All right. Anything
All right.
else?
That's all I got.
Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. It is 7:36. We are concluding this evening's meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. Our next meeting will be April 7th at 6 p.m.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.